On this video, we are debunking common myths about San Miguel de Allende.
So let's get started with the first myth, which is San Miguel is only for retirees.
If you haven't noticed yet, we're not in our usual spot. We're headed to Querétaro for a little bit of shopping and thought we'd kill two birds with one stone. Yes, it's true that there are a lot of retired people from the United States and Canada and other parts of Mexico. It started with the GI Bill and young people coming to study art here after World War II. But then those people stayed for decades and became old, and then it started attracting older retirees from the States and Canada.
People who could afford to move to a foreign country and sustain themselves with their retirement money, right? But I think that has completely 100% changed even in the 16 years that we've lived here. We just had our anniversary. December 8th marked our 16 years that we moved to San Miguel. And we've seen it really change since then with more young families moving here with children. We came along 16 years ago and we thought, wow, we need to make friends our age, and we started to find people our age, but it wasn't so common. And now we've seen in the last 16 years, our friends have children and they're raising their kids here. And a lot of them, I would say, have jobs where they need fast internet, and that has really changed it. Don't you think?
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's made life a lot easier for people to move here, especially this day and age. I just saw a statistic that I think 12% of all the people that are employed in the United States are working remotely. So there's a huge number of people that are just moving abroad to begin with, and a lot of those people are finding San Miguel to live, and they're bringing their families, they're bringing their kids. So there's a lot more of that. But we have to put it into perspective too, because San Miguel's population is composed of 97% Mexican and 3% foreigners. And so it's very much a Mexican city, and the foreign population is a minority here. And so looking at just the foreign population, we're trying to get a lot more diverse backgrounds.
Yes, we're seeing the demographic change from older retirees to younger couples with their children moving here, and most of them have remote type jobs, or they can run their businesses from anywhere in the world, and they choose to live in San Miguel, and they run their businesses via their computer.
Yeah, exactly.
So is San Miguel for just retirees? No, it's not.
Look at us, for example. We moved when we were 35 years old. We moved to San Miguel very, very young. We didn't have enough money to retire on, so we had to figure it out ourselves. And we did, and we're still working. All right, so now we've made it to the water company, and we're gonna go pay a bill.
I need to go pay the water bill. So let's take a short little break, and we will continue on to myth number 2. Be right back. Okay, mission accomplished.
All right.
Paid the Sapasma bill. So we're on to myth number 2. San Miguel de Allende is unaffordable for most people.
I think it's true that San Miguel de Allende is more expensive than most of Mexico, with the exceptions of maybe Mexico City and a lot of the tourist cities.
Yeah, like the beach areas can be more pricey.
And the other thing is that we have experienced inflation here, just like the rest of the world.
Yes.
We can feel it in our pocketbooks. But San Miguel is still a very affordable place to live. If you're a foreigner, you're going to be paying a lot less for pretty much everything here compared to prices in the United States.
So although San Miguel can be more expensive than other parts of Mexico depending on where you are, I think that there is something for everyone here. If you're willing to live outside of Centro, then you could get an inexpensive apartment for less than $1,000 a month, maybe $500 to $1,000. But if you want to live in Centro, then you're paying top dollar for your rental. If you want to shop at La Mega or City Market, which are the top high-end grocery stores, then you're paying more than if you go to the Tuesday market or your neighborhood store. If you want to go to a terrace restaurant and pay top dollar for your meal, you can. But you can also go to the small restaurants in town, the mom and pops in your neighborhoods. We as locals know where the less expensive places are. So you look for what's in your budget. There's something for everyone.
Yeah, I think if you're living here, you're not going to be going to restaurants every day. You're going to be going to the grocery store or to the local food markets. If you watch some of our previous cost of living videos, you can see there how much we spend exactly on groceries. So it is a very affordable place to live. Higher than other places in Mexico, but definitely doable.
You really just have to look for what works with your budget.
On our recent cost of living video, we extrapolated from our expenses what it would cost to live on a very bare bones budget. We added up our numbers and came up with a number of less than $1,500. But that included a $500 medical expense that we had, which was higher than the normal month. So you could probably live closer to about $1,000 a month if you forego health insurance, which is a very, very big risk if you ask me. People can live for as little as $1,000.
All right, so on to the next one. You need to speak Spanish fluently to live here. You do not need to speak Spanish fluently to live here in San Miguel de Allende, but speaking Spanish definitely enriches your experience and your interactions while living here. Now, you can go to restaurants and most waiters speak English, and yes, there's English menus and Spanish menus here. Good or bad, there are. You can go into the big grocery stores and you can find an employee that will help you that speaks English. But when you go into the banks and things like that, that can get a little complicated if you don't speak Spanish fluently. I think that you should try to learn the language as much as you possibly can. And I know that learning another language is not easy, and Francisco and I were very lucky that we were born into families that speak Spanish, and so we have spoken Spanish our whole lives. I do think you get so much more out of your experience living here if you at least know some Spanish, because then you can communicate with your neighbors, you can talk to the lady who owns the grocery store, you can talk to the lady who's selling you flowers, and just feel a little more confident going into different situations.
So debunking the myth of you have to speak Spanish to live here, I think if you're living here for a short period of time, for a month to 3 months or to 6 months, which is what you're allowed to do on a tourist visa, you don't need to speak Spanish to get by.
Yeah.
I think that if you're just living here a short time, San Miguel is a very, very English-friendly place to live.
So number 4 is you don't need to speak Spanish fluently to live here.
You don't have to speak Spanish if you want to live in a bubble surrounded by other people that speak your language, whatever that language might be. But in order to really appreciate the place where you're living, you're going to get the most out of it by understanding the language that the people speak.
Yes. And you can't expect everyone to speak English. That's just a false expectation. So what could be helpful if you don't speak the language is learning how to use Google Translate or other applications that allow you to dictate what you want to say in English, and then you change it into Spanish, and the application then says it into Spanish for you. All right, so number 5 on our list is San Miguel is not real Mexico. This one is a hot topic.
This one, there's so many people that think that San Miguel is not real Mexico. I guess unless you've lived in San Miguel, you wouldn't realize that almost every single day there's a festival celebrating something, whether it's somebody's birthday, somebody's wedding, a saint, Christmas, and the endless holidays. And also, I guess the question is, what is the real Mexico for people? Because Mexico has deep traditions that live on here in San Miguel, as in the rest of the country. But Mexico is also a very, very modern country, and you'll find supermarkets that are way, way more fancy than most supermarkets in the United States, for example. And we've heard comments about that from other foreigners saying that, oh, it's too bad that that San Miguel put in this modern supermarket because that's taking away from the Mexican culture and the Mexican tradition. But not all Mexicans want to go shop at the markets. Some people want the convenience of being able to go to a supermarket and do their one-stop shopping.
Real Mexico to us it's a little bit of everything, There's old traditions, there's architecture, there's lots of beauty, but there's also the modern aspect to it. Mexico's diverse. It has lots to offer, and so you will find a little bit of everything. And we live in a mixed neighborhood with Mexican neighbors and American neighbors. And all of our Mexican neighbors celebrate all of the religious aspects of Mexico, right? So they're always having posadas, they're having rosaries in the street. The neighbors come out and somebody passes away, they do the 9-day of prayers. Out on the street, they all gather together. They have the Christmas posadas in their homes. They celebrate Easter. They celebrate the Virgin Mary. They celebrate everything. It's very traditional, very, very much so.
You really have to get off the tourist spots in order to find the real San Miguel.
Okay, so number 6 is San Miguel is only for tourists.
San Miguel is very, very popular with visitors from not only other parts of the world, but from within Mexico, the country of Mexico.
Yeah, very much so.
And visitors are welcome, and foreigners are welcome. We have been welcomed. But San Miguel also has a local tradition. The majority of the people that live in San Miguel have lived in San Miguel for generations. And you can see that by walking around the neighborhoods. And you'll notice people from the neighborhoods chatting in the streets, going to their local tortilla factory to buy their dozen tortillas for the day, and living life. I mean, look.
Oh boy.
The majority of the people that live in San Miguel have lived in San Miguel for multiple generations, and we can see that in our very own neighborhood. It's true, like you said, we have neighbors that have come to live from other parts of the world, but most of our neighbors are from San Miguel, not only Mexican, but they're from San Miguel de Allende, and they've lived there for generations.
So San Miguel is not just for tourists. It's really not. It's not just a tourist town. There's a whole vibrant local community that lives in it with their traditions and their culture, and we're just visiting.
We're guests.
We're guests. Number 7. There's nothing to do in San Miguel beyond the main square.
If you are into horseback riding, you can ride a horse around the countryside. You can do ATVing. You can hike around the mountains if you'd like and explore nature. There are several open spaces like the botanical garden where you can go and explore and walk around. There are restaurants that only the locals know about, that are outside of the historical center, that are actually quite good. There's vineyards, there's hot springs, and then there's nearby cities like the city of Querétaro that's less than an hour drive from San Miguel de Allende.
Guanajuato.
Or Guanajuato. Guanajuato is a really, really beautiful city, about an hour and a half away from us.
I mean, there's so much to do that's outside of the historical area. If you come for a few days, you'll fill your days with just the touristy things. But if you come for a period of time, you could volunteer at an organization, help teach English. You could volunteer at Feed the Hungry. You could volunteer at many places where you could spend, your time doing volunteer work. If you're going to spend a long period of time here, there's an organization where you can volunteer to mentor young professionals who are in college and studying, and you can mentor them. It's called Jóvenes Adelante. And there's so many opportunities to do good if that's what you want to do. You could take art classes, you can learn Spanish. I mean, there's so much that you really could do if you are here for a longer period of time.
And if you're here to sightsee, you can also visit Dolores Hidalgo, which is only 50 kilometers away. There's Atotonilco, which is only 7 miles away. Atotonilco is an amazing World Heritage Site. It's an old sanctuary, beautiful church. They call it the Sistine Chapel of Mexico because of the beautiful frescoes that cover the entire ceiling of the place.
Number 8, San Miguel is unsafe because it's in Mexico.
Now that's a generalization if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of news that we get, and all you hear is the bad news. Just like what we hear that goes on in the United States are the school shootings that happen on a daily basis. You might hear that in Mexico there's cartel killings,
Kidnappings,
violence.
And we're not saying that does not exist.
Yeah, it completely happens. It's true.
It's true.
But if you're a visitor, you're not going to be affected by any of that. Unless you live in certain areas of Mexico where that kind of stuff happens. And especially if you have a business, you might get, extorted?
Extorted.
But San Miguel de Allende is not in one of those areas.
We're very lucky. We're very fortunate that we do live in a safe town, but I'm also not going to say that we don't have things that happen. It's not perfect. But we have lived in San Miguel for 16 years, and I remember first moving to San Miguel 16 years ago and going out at night with friends and getting home late, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I could walk to our front door and it was okay. Maybe it wasn't the smartest thing to do even back then, but it felt safe. It felt much safer. And now what we do is we take taxis home. We don't go out that late anymore, but when we do go out at night, we take a taxi home. If it's later than a certain hour. So we've just become wiser.
I think that what's important to realize is that it's not 100% safe, just like it's not 100% dangerous. It's more safe than it is dangerous.
Yes.
And the way to see it is it's like a small city. And in cities there's crime. And you just have to be aware of that. And,
yes.
You can't go out drinking late at night and stumble out of a bar and not expect something to happen, but that would happen anywhere. That's not an exception for San Miguel. So compared to other places in the world, San Miguel de Allende is safe.
You need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to be aware of what's happening around you. You have to take precautions. Like, for example, I always wear a crossover body bag with my items in front of me, so no pickpocketer is ever going to get me, because that's happened to me in the past, and it won't happen to me again. So then you learn to do things that keep you safer. Number 9, the weather in San Miguel is always hot. So I would say, although most of the days all year round are sunny, the temperature varies. So in the winter, it can get cold. And as you can see, we're dressed with sweaters and tennis shoes, and it feels chilly. And in the early mornings, it's very cold. It's about in the 40s when we wake up in the morning. Sometimes it can be in the 30s. and the days can go up to 70, 75, sometimes 80 degrees in the winter time. But it's short-lived. Our winter's like 2 months, and then it's over. And in March, mid-March, it warms up again. Well, the days will be in the 80s every single day, starting in mid-February.
So right now we're in the third week of December. And it is
our winter season.
70 degrees out there.
Yeah.
70. So it's not cold.
Yeah.
It gets cold at night. We're in a semi-desert region.
Yeah, and the highlands.
And yeah, it's very similar to, let's say, Reno, Nevada, with the exception that we don't get snow in the winter. So yes,
sometimes.
we're sometimes.
In the mountaintops around us.
Once every 5 years or something for a day. What we do get is over 300 days a year of sunshine. And it's very mild, with the exception of a couple months in the spring, right before the rainy season in summer. It gets really hot, but the rest of the year, it's very, very nice here.
So number 10 is San Miguel de Allende has no modern amenities. I would say that is a big myth because San Miguel has lots of modern amenities, which is what makes it a comfortable place to live, right? We have really good dining, really nice grocery stores, if that's your thing. We have really fast internet, which is a great plus if you're working.
Yeah.
What else?
We have modern hospitals.
Yes.
You can't get all the specialties here, but you can get a lot. And what you can't get in San Miguel, you could find in nearby Querétaro or Mexico City. For the most part, you're covered with healthcare here.
Yeah. Number 11, San Miguel is an isolated town.
So we were talking a little bit about this before. It can feel a little bit isolated because it's quaint. It's a town surrounded by countryside, so it feels like you're not near anything. But we have access to the bigger city of Querétaro or the other city of Guanajuato. We're relatively close to international airports.
2 of them.
Yeah, they're both within an hour and a half away by car. And so in our case, we have a car, and that helps the situation for us because we can just jump into our car and go. And if you can afford a car, we would recommend owning a car because it does open up the world a little bit to us, and we don't feel as isolated.
And although we have plenty of friends who don't have cars, and it's not 100% necessary, I think it's a positive if you can have one, because then it allows you to go anywhere outside of San Miguel whenever you need to. But there's other ways of doing it too. You can go via bus, which Mexico has a really good bus system. There's lots of private drivers that will take you places and do things. So it's not necessary. It's not an absolute necessity, but it is a plus.
Yeah, and also the fact that we do have really fast speed internet allows us to watch the news, watch programming on our apps using our VPN, and so we connect to the outside world, to the rest of the world that way as well.
Number 12, it's impossible to find affordable housing in San Miguel. I think that's a total myth, because just like there are luxury properties to rent, there's inexpensive places to rent. You just have to find something within the budget, within your budget, that you feel comfortable living in. If you're on the lower end of the spectrum, you most likely will not be able to live in Centro.
Yeah, I mean,
in the historical center.
We did a little bit of research there as we prepared for our cost of living videos, but you can live in the historical center, but you're going to be paying upwards of $2,500 a month just for a rental there, or millions of dollars for a property there. But on the other side of the spectrum, you could find apartments for as little as $500 or less than $500, like 7,000 pesos, which would be $350. But those are going to be further away from...
And small.
They're
going to be small. They're going to be small little studios outside of the historical center.
You might actually be closer to the supermarkets, ironically enough.
Number 13. San Miguel is overrun with expats and locals aren't welcoming.
You know, I understand where this myth comes from, because if you are just doing the tourist trail and looking at recommendations on places to eat, a lot of the times those recommendations are written by other visitors.
Yeah.
So you're going to end up at these restaurants and you're going to look around you and all you might see are people from the States and Canada. And that's because that's where other people from the States and Canada recommended that you go eat.
So I don't think that San Miguel is overrun by expats. We're a very small minority in a very Mexican town. But if you only go do touristy things, then that's where you're going to see all the American tourists or expats hanging out. But regardless, the Mexican people are welcoming. Number 14 is San Miguel is boring for younger people.
If you're a young person growing up in San Miguel, there are things for you to do.
Oh, there's so many activities for younger people growing up in San Miguel.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, from martial arts to acrobatic arts to dance, art classes, anything and everything you can think of, it's pretty much available in San Miguel and for less the cost. And I think that's why a lot of families move to San Miguel, because they're able to give their children more opportunities for things to do to keep them busy, because it's more affordable.
Yeah, very true.
Right?
And did you see that guy crossing the road on the highway? Oh my goodness. Might not have
So
kids.
I think kids have a much richer life because they have so many fun things to do.
And then for the families that are visiting San Miguel, there's aquatic parks to visit. There's basketball in the park.
When my nephew came to visit us, he was already in his 20s. He likes to work out, so he would go to the gym every day, and he made lots of friends at the gym. He went to the park, to Parque Juarez, and he joined in some pickup basketball games and made a lot of friends doing that. So there's definitely things for younger people to do. It's not just for older people. All right, so number 15, San Miguel is too small to have good health care. This is a tricky one. But like we've said in our past videos, whatever you can't find in San Miguel, then you can just go to our neighboring city of Querétaro, healthcare wise, or Mexico City. But San Miguel has good options for emergency healthcare and for doctors. And then once, if it's gotten to be too complicated or you want second opinions, you can always go outside of San Miguel for more healthcare.
We have successfully found the treatment that we were looking for most of the things.
Yeah.
And in the cases where we didn't, like you said, we did our research and we found what we needed in Mexico City.
So is San Miguel too small to have good health care? Definitely not.
The fact that it's close to Querétaro is a plus for us, because there are a lot of doctors that live in Querétaro that will do 1 day a week or 2 days a week in San Miguel. And so we can schedule our appointments with them when they're in
the consultations with them
when they're there.
Yeah, in San Miguel. And then if you need a procedure and you want to have it done in Querétaro at the hospital here with them, then you come here. Or you find a doctor in San Miguel that can do it too. All right, number 16. There's no good food beyond tourist restaurants.
There's a lot of good food beyond. My argument would be the tourist restaurants don't have the best food in San Miguel.
Some of them have really good food, but there's plenty outside of the historical center, trendy area, rooftop restaurants. There's really good stuff if you know where to go. Like, for example, JJ's Middle Eastern restaurant in San Antonio neighborhood. I really love that place. I think it's delicious. And literally, it's a restaurant inside of a little garage. But he makes excellent Middle Eastern food, and it's delicious. And you, as a tourist, you would never know he's even there because you would never go out to that neighborhood to eat there. But as a local, you do.
If you want to get inexpensive street food, you'll find some taco stands on the highway that have really good, inexpensive tacos, all, the traditional kinds. There's a place where you can buy gorditas, really, really good.
Don Cito, yeah, really, really good. And he can also cater your parties.
Yes. And so, yeah, if you look for these places, you'll find them.
If you have any questions, please post them below, and we'll see you in the next one.
Ciao.
Bye.